Hey, welcome everyone to another cold calling live. We have the Sara Plowman here, but you're no technically you're no longer Sara Plowman, or is it now? What's how should we address you? I feel like this. I know I wanted to call you Sara Plowman, but and that's not the case anymore. So what's
I know everyone always says, like, how do you pronounce your new last name? And it's Uy. It's two letters, U-Y. I don't know why it's not showing unless I just typed in Plowman, which very could well be the case.
I mean, yeah,
I'm
it's
also confused. I'm also confused, but I'm in the process. The box to change my name, it's literally called Namely, is over there. So I'm gonna do that this weekend.
Love it, love it. Well, Sara, it's always a pleasure. Everyone that's tuning in, let us know if you've been on a cold calling live before with us here at Cognism in the chat. That'd be great. If it's your first time, let us know. But more importantly, what we do want to know is where are you tuning in from? This is always the fun part. See where everyone is at in the world. So let us know, where are you tuning in from in today's session, and then also as well, because our premise here. So that if you haven't been here before, we want to bring people up live that want to practice their cold callings, like live mock cold calling here with me as a prospect. So if you want to do that, raise your hand. We'll get you on video. We'll do that as we share our tips here and people go into questions. But that's what we're doing here, just so y'all know. All questions, direct those towards the Q&A, and then we will answer those as well. I already see some people raising their hands, so we'll get to you here in a minute before as I do the housekeeping. But if you want to come up and chop it up with us, come up here as well, and we'll get into it. And then the last thing I'll say is, let us know what you want to learn today in terms of cold calling. You could put it in the chat, or you could put it in the text Q&A, and we'll make sure to answer as many questions as possible. I can't say we'll answer all of them because it gets crazy sometimes, but we will answer the most of them as we can. All right, so we will say that across the board. But without any further ado, let's get into it here for our cold calling live, and let's introduce Sara. Talk to us. First thing we want to know is, what's your role as of today? I know you got promoted recently, so tell us a little bit about that. And number two is, when you cold call, what is your favorite song to listen to before you start making cold calls? What
Oh
is your hype
God.
up song? Yeah, I know we're gonna also in the chat. What is your hype up song for cold calling? We want to know that too. But I need to know Sara's. This is I have to know this. But Sara, introduce yourself real quick.
Okay, cool. So, hey guys, my name is Sara Uy. I'm a new sales director at Pareto. So I just got promoted right after I got back from my honeymoon. So I have to say, pretty good timing. It'll be a very hard summer to beat. Basically, what I do is I focus on bringing in new business, new logos to the organization at Pareto as new clients. So I am a hunter at heart. I really love the business development side. I still do a lot of my own prospecting, and I go on my own meetings, close my own deals. Pretty much, full sales cycle is what I do at Pareto. Cold calling is something that you guys know I love to do. Also a weird one for that, but this is going to be really controversial, but here's my secret that's coming out. I'm a secret Taylor Swift fan. So like I'm always listening to Taylor Swift, which probably isn't like the best pump up music for cold calling. Usually it's like quite depressing,
It
but I
depends.
do feel like it's fitting. So once I just get into that mood, like I'm kind of good to go.
Okay, the Swifties are fired up. If you're a Swiftie in the chat, put a one. I'm gonna see how many Swifties are here. I'm actually very curious. This might
There's
go
probably a lot of
crazy.
secret ones. I literally just I flew all the way to the UK to go to her concert like 2 weeks ago. Like it's here I am.
There's a good amount of Swifties in here. Okay, cool. My pump up song is "In the Club" by 50 Cent. You cannot go
That's a good
wrong.
one.
You cannot go wrong with "In the Club" 50 Cent. It's impossible. It's impossible. No one can be like, "Oh, that song doesn't get me hype." Like you hear "Go, go," and you're like, "All right, like I gotta go. I gotta make some cold calls. Like it's time, right?" And so yeah, shout out to 50. And let's get into the cold calling piece. So I'm Morgan. I'm the host of this. Previously, I worked at JB Sales, John Barrows, and I've trained a lot of the top tech companies in the world, Google, Slack, Snowflake, on how to do top of the funnel. So that's where my advice comes from when I talk about this. And as of today, we do B2B influencer marketing, and we run shows like this. And so we're diving in today with Plowman, but let's talk about what's going on, right? So what we're going to learn is a couple cold calling tips. I'm going to share my number one tip. Sara's going to share her number one tip. Then live feedback on calls with a prize with a prize. The chat should be way more excited, but they should be fired
the
up.
chat's silent, like
The
with
chat
a
is
prize.
silent.
Hello.
Like I guess no prizes. But we're gonna talk about the prizes. All right, like just wait. They're good prizes, but just we'll get there. And then we'll have some Q&A. So again, like I said, throw your text Q&A in here, and we will do that as well. Okay, so first and foremost, let's dive into the tips. So I'll start and share my number one tip. This is something I actually was talking to a team about yesterday, and I posted about it recently. This is probably one of my favorite cold calling tips because obviously T-Swift tickets, y'all. I don't know, like I don't know about that. T-Swift tickets are a hefty fee nowadays. I don't know about that. Maybe next time. We'll talk about that next time. But my cold calling tip actually goes with voicemails. So for everybody listening in, I'm actually very curious. When it comes to voicemails, how many callbacks do you all get? Just put in the chat. I'm curious. Sarah, how many callbacks have you in your career? I'm actually curious for you.
Oh, in my career? Maybe like 5.
5. Okay. It's typically between 5 and 8 is what I get. All right. So 0, 0, 5 to 7, 1 to 5. I never do voicemails. I mean, it's kind of my hand. All right, very minimal. All right, y'all. So today I'm gonna share with you on how you can get more callbacks and how to get more responses when you do your voicemails. This is proven to be true a good bit. I'm gonna break it down. We'll go back and forth, and then we'll go to Sarah's tip. So when it comes to voicemails, what we've actually seen is when you ask for people's information, you give your number, they're going to be very hesitant. That causes actually friction. So the voicemails that I leave are frictionless voicemails, and I'll tell you how I leave it. And if people need me to repeat it, I can also do that as well. We could also send the text of this in the follow up. So when I leave voicemails and we talk to clients about this, let's say I'm reaching out to like Sally. I'll be like, "Hi, Sally. The reason for my voicemail is we've been speaking to a lot of VPs of sales, and one of their main priorities right now is to increase their cold call conversion. And we just did a workshop that 2x the conversion rate and 3x the cold calling output across the board. So look, there's no need to call me back. I'm going to send you an email in the next 5 minutes. The subject line will be cold calling workshop. And if it's applicable, we can go from there. My name is Morgan Ingram from AMP. Once again, my name is Morgan Ingram from AMP. And the reason that works so well is a couple things. One is you're telling someone not to call you back. So what that does is it actually gets the person to not think, oh, this is another sales call or sales rep doing this. It's different. You're saying, hey, don't even call me back. It's the reverse of what they typically get. And so they're actually more open. We've seen actually workshops to call you back because you're telling them not to. And they're like, oh, I guess I should, right? Because you're taking the option away. The other thing is proactive emails. So we saw like a 1.52x increase in conversion rate when you tell someone, hey, I'm going to send you an email. Here's the subject line. And now you're prepping them to do that because most people read the transcript of their voicemail instead of listening to the voicemail. And so within that actually leads into the higher conversion rate because they're reading the text and then they're now reading the email. And then the last piece is saying your name and company at the end, leading with value at the front, typically leads to people, if they do feel so inclined to listening to it, they do that as well. So that voicemail script, Brian, I'll throw it in here in a minute across the board. If you're looking to increase your callbacks or response rates, I highly recommend people to do that. So that's my bit there.
Nice.
So if anyone has a question, no, I typically don't leave the number at the end of the day because I know that like if you're calling somebody, they obviously see your number, so then they can just call back anyways because you're calling them, so they can see the number. They'll call you back. They'll call you back. I really just want them to see my name, so then if they find interest, they'll look up my emails that I've already sent them because I probably sent them quite a bit, and then they can look through that and be like, okay, cool, and they can reply from there, which we've seen before. So that's my piece on that. So if you guys want to try that out, you can. I see the likes on Brian's thing. We'll make sure to provide that actual script there. So if you found value in that, you can absolutely use it. So
I think an important thing to mention too, Morgan, like what you mentioned, and I just see a lot of things in the chat saying like, I never leave voicemails, and that's totally okay. What works for you works for you. But like the purpose of the voicemail, like Morgan said, like they're not going to call you back. Like all of us said that we've gotten like 5 to 7 callbacks in our lifetime. So like the purpose is to not have them call you back. but it's really just like that touch point where you want to keep your messaging the same so that when they do open that email that Morgan mentioned, or, they do open that LinkedIn message that you send, they can put two and two together that voicemail was also from you. So it's like building familiarity is what the goal is. So if you don't leave voicemails, start doing it, but don't expect anything from it from a callback perspective, but you might see something from it from email or LinkedIn or something else.
But shout out to Christian though. Okay, so check this out, y'all. This was not planned. This was not planned. Y'all are like, oh, Mark. No, it's not. So look at this. Saw a LinkedIn post, applied it today. Customer already called back. I'm trying to tell y'all this is it's. I'm not like I'm just trying to tell y'all. If you want more callbacks, you'll do that same exact framework. I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds out of pocket. I get it, but I'm telling you, you will get callbacks. And even right here, couple responses on my email. So apply it. I'll make sure to drop it though here in the chat for everybody so you can check it out. But that's that voicemail bit. So again, I highly encourage you all to use it because you're already seeing use cases here that it worked in the chat. I would say maximum voicemail, you're looking at probably 30 seconds, 30, 40 seconds. It just depends on how fast you talk, to be fair.
For me, it's like 20 seconds. So I'm like snappy.
Yeah, so it just depends. I'd probably say 30, 40 for most people. But again, they're probably going to look at that text. So, all right, y'all, that's the voicemail. We're going to get the transcript on that one. But as we do that, Sarah, what is your top tip for cold calling?
Oh, God, I have so many, but I think it's just building the confidence to sound really, really great on the phone and professional. Only like 7% of what you actually say in the content is what is going to come across to a prospect. 93% is how you're actually saying it. So I know people all the time are like, what tips do you have for, getting, my fear of cold calling over with? Like, how can I not be scared of actually getting on the phone anymore? And my tip back to that is like, you just have to keep calling and practicing, but honestly, practice like just your confidence, whether that's standing up while you're cold calling, which definitely helps. Like power pose is definitely a thing. And or practicing like in the mirror, practicing role playing like with your colleague that's sitting next to you. Like get on a Zoom if you work from home and practice with people, over Zoom. Have fun with it, because at the end of the day, the worst thing that they can do is hang up or say no to you. But as long as you sound really, really confident, it does not matter what you're saying. And that will also help like with your confidence too, because if you start to trip over your words, but you're like, damn, I sound really good, it's okay, like I think I still have them on the call, like that will also really help you. So I think it's just all about like projecting your voice, sounding really confident, doing some role plays on the side before you even get on the phones. Like what we used to do at Pareto all the time is before we went into a cold calling session a few years ago, we would spend like the first 10 minutes of the power hour just role playing with each other, having fun with it. Obviously there's some laughs, and then by the time you get on the phone, everyone's in a good mood, everyone's laughing, you realize it's not the end of the world. So kind of practicing, just having confidence and sounding really, really great in your tone of voice. Tone over content is probably my number one tip, with a bunch of little mini tips in between that.
So let's say, I love this, and there might be some people here in the room today. You all can let us know that might be coming in here and they're founders and they have to cold call, or maybe they're the only rep on their team. Any suggestions if you're the only rep, or maybe you're not in a scenario where you can practice with other people to increase your tone and get better?
Yeah, I think there's so many tools out there now that you can also invest in, where, you could submit like mock calls and, it can review them for you. ChatGPT is great. Like, this is what I say in a cold call. Like, what advice do you have? But also, like, don't overthink it. Like, when I worked remotely during COVID and I was like one of the only reps, like, I would literally practice with like my friend or like my mom, or like I would literally record myself on my phone and like just kind of see like, hey, if I was on the other, the other person on the line, like, would I listen to this person? Like, you can make that judgment call, like have the confidence, build that confidence up to be able to do that. But, at the end of the day, it's just a cold call, and it's either gonna, you're either gonna book the meeting or you're not, and you're gonna go on to the next one. So, don't overthink it either. But there's plenty of ways that you can practice, even if it's just in the mirror, like with yourself. So, don't stress. But also there's such a great community on LinkedIn. Like, reach out to people, say like, hey, like, do you want to do like a cold calling role play? Like, we're in the same industry. Do you want to hop on a Zoom? Like, the power of community, especially on LinkedIn nowadays, is so awesome. I love it. I do stuff like that all the time.
Yep.
So I highly recommend like just putting yourself out there. You never know what's going to happen.
I absolutely love that. Let's see. We have a couple people asking maybe what tools to hop on. So do you have any suggestions on that?
Oh God, I'm like, we all use ChatGPT in my office nowadays, and but there are so many like AI cold calling, platforms. I haven't used any myself just yet. I don't know, Morgan, have you? Any good recommendations?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a good bit out there. I always recommend if you can invest into a tool, ChatGPT. I prefer Claude over everything. I think it's a little bit better. But you can actually do mock scenarios with it. I'm a huge fan of Luster. It's similar to Hyperbound. That's what I typically use to practice as well. But I think everyone's going to be different. But yeah, I typically lean on Luster more than anything. I see people mentioning other tools in the chat as well. So definitely look at the chat. Check out Luster. Yes, they're second nature. I think they were one of the first in the space to do it. So yeah, definitely go check those out for sure and figure out which one is for you. But if you can't afford it, ChatGPT can effectively do it as well, 100%.
ChatGPT also has a function where you could do like a voice note and actually like send the voice note and you could be like, how did I sound? Like, what tips do you have for me? And that's all free. So
yes. Yeah. 100%. So y'all, there's some great questions coming in here. We have some people ready for the mock call. If you're on the video, we're about to let you in. We're going to do one question and go into it. But I need to know so far, as people are coming in, have you all found this helpful so far? We're about 15 minutes in. We're just making sure, is everybody good, right? But let us know, has this been helpful so far, right? Cool. Everyone's happy. Everyone's fired up. All right, awesome, y'all. So y'all definitely will be back. All right, you'll be back. it's like I'm gonna cut it short. All right, guys, it's been fun. This wasn't really helpful at all. So everyone is vibing. So let's get into the first question. I actually think this question, by the way, everyone in the questions, please upvote what questions that you want. We're going to make sure to tackle those first. I already see Brian. I see your question is upvoted. So we're going to go to you first, but please upvote the questions as we get into the volunteers, because we're about to do that in a minute. So just everyone hang tight. But this is just really good, I think, across the board, which is, do you have an example of good script structure? Sarah, talk to us.
Yeah. I think it's just not overthinking it. For me, when I read this question immediately, I'm like, hook, pitch, one question, close, or two question, close, depending. Morgan, I've said this so many times, like I'm a really big believer on a hard close. So I try not to ask too many questions after my actual pitch, but it's on purpose because I think it also, if you close early, it gives you the opportunity for them to be like, whoa, wait, what is this about? And sometimes I'll actually be able to pitch again and then have the opportunity to close a second time, which is awesome. So I think just good script structure, straightforward, is really good hook, pull them in, your pitch, one or two questions, close. So it's kind of like a 4-part is how I think of it.
Yeah, I think that's great. Mine's very similar. I think sometimes we like to definitely overcomplicate the cold call, but it's very straightforward. It's like hook. I call them pattern interrupts. So your intro should be some type of pattern interrupt. And then once you get past that, then you do have the hook piece. Then you do value prop. And then there's typically after the value prop, you have 2 to 4 objections, and then you need to close them. That's how pretty much every single cold call goes. So I think if you follow that piece, that's important. What I will say, I gave you all the voicemail. You always have to add that in because obviously everyone's not going to pick up. And we'll see it as we bring people up live and on what they do. Make sure your intro is very, very strong. If I could also give one additional piece of advice for everyone, when I was an SDR, I made 100 to 120 calls a day. And so when I was doing that, I had a good amount of pickups. And the one thing I would focus on every single time is, how do I make my intro phenomenal? How do I make it so like it completely interrupts their pattern and they're like, whoa, what is this? So I would highly encourage you all, out of the whole entire script structure, really dive into what is my hook, pattern interrupt, whatever you want to call it. What am I going to do in the first 10 seconds where someone actually pays attention? and we'll go over examples of that. So Jack, I know the examples of that, but that's what I'd focus on. Mine is a permission-based opener. I know some people don't like these. I don't know what is going on. People do not like these nowadays, but this is what I do. So I do like the PLA, and so it's called pleasant, laughing, arms up. So I'll say like, "Hi, Sally. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, look, I know I'm catching you out the blue. However, do you have a few moments to chat?" And that one works extremely well for me because most people don't get thanked for taking a call. I do a little chuckle. I do a little laugh. By the way, make sure you practice your laugh and you
The
don't sound,
chuckle.
yeah, you got to
Practice
practice
that.
the chuckle, right? Like, I don't know if you all have seen the Kawhi Leonard video and his laugh. Sarah, I don't know if you've seen this. Have you
I
seen the
haven't.
Kawhi Leonard? Okay, yeah. So I would highly encourage you to go check it out if you haven't, because his laugh is just goofy. He's like, "Oh yeah," he just laughs so weird. You're like, "Oh yeah," it's just like, what is happening? So
People get
the thing
so
is,
thrown off too. They're like, sure. They'll like also laugh sometimes, and you're like, mine was rehearsed, yours wasn't, so that's awkward.
yeah, it's like this is actually not going well. Or you don't want to sound like
Yeah,
the Joker. You don't want to laugh like a hyena. Like there's levels to this. All right. Like I don't want y'all to be crazy. But the thing is that you do want to have like a nice levity laugh. Like, hey, I know I'm
yeah,
catching the blue here. And then I say a few moments to chat because people are ambiguous. They like moments, right? And if you say minutes or seconds, you're tied to that, but moments gives you more time. So that's why I typically suggest that. So what the PLA stands for is pleasant, laughing, and arms up. The pleasant part is thanks for taking my call because it's a pattern interrupt. Most people never get thanked for taking a call. So it immediately disrupts their pattern of what they thought the call was going to be. Then now that I've disrupted their pattern psychologically, now I need to bring their guard down. So I laugh. Again, please, if you do a crazy laugh, and they hang up on you, you didn't hear this tip from me though. You heard it from someone else. like if you mess up the laugh, that you didn't get this from Morgan. You got it from someone else. But what I will say is you have to be like levity. You have to be like, hey, I know I'm catching out the blue here, right? It's you're acknowledging that the scenario is absurd. And then the third piece is now that we have their guard down, we're going to ask for the continuation of the conversation. And that's the arms up. So on the call, I literally have my arms up and say, however, do you have a few moments to chat? Like, I'm not aggressive. I'm not direct. I'm just like, hey, few moments to chat, like arms up. So that's how that works there. All right, y'all. Now let's get into, I know some questions we're going to do this, but let's bring up some people. Anson. Let's see if Anson's there. Suspense.
suspense. Hey, Anson,
Right,
can you hear us?
He might not be here. All right. Anson, let's hope you, okay, Anson's not there, but let's see. He's muted though. All right. Let's see. Let me bring someone else up here real quick. Oh, tech. Okay, cool. All right, let's get Dave. Dave is here. Dave, what's going on?
What's going on?
Not much. Just hanging out, talking about some cold calling. Welcome on the show.
What's going on, Sarah? Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you as well. Okay, so a couple things on how this works. Number one is I need to get an understanding of what kind of roles do you call. Two, like what are you selling? What are you offering? And three, how long you've been cold calling. And then once we get that, you'll be calling me, and then I'll tell you what we do from there.
Cool. I've been cold calling for about 9 years. I'll just start with that. I started off canvassing, so just like pure outbound, like knocking on doors, like just eating it for a very long time.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I went to like pure B2B sales in a car, selling uniforms for 3 years. Once again, all cold calling, just driving around, eating it again. Then I finally got into sales. So like, I don't know, cold calling when you're not like knocking a door and someone telling you that you're worthless is like a lot easier. So I'm a founding AE for a news SEO company. And the people I usually call on, it can be anyone from like SEO director to like VP of news or like even high level. Sometimes I even do CEO once I get the permission of like meeting with multiple people and I come with like a business case. Very short call, can backfire, but those are usually the phone I go after.
Awesome. So what role do you want me to be today?
Probably just like an SEO director, like someone I call, like in general, like those are the people I probably call the most.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna do my best to be an SEO director here. Okay. So how this works is you're gonna go through your normal, whatever you typically do.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, the goal is to schedule a call, and then I'm gonna act like a legitimate prospect here. So whenever you're ready, you can ring the phones, and then we'll go from there.
All right, cool. Buzz, 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 buzz.
Hello?
Hey, Morgan, this is Dave Morley over from NewsDash. You're probably absolutely going to hate me. This is definitely a cold call. Do you want to hear me out for 20 seconds, or should I find the nearest window to jump out of?
Oh, wow, that's Dave. Don't do that. We need you. We need you here. So I don't really like cold calls, but go ahead. All
right, good. The last person didn't say the same. Anyways, usually when I talk to SEO directors, one of the main things that they care about is Google algorithm updates and Google Discover traffic. One of the biggest things we've been finding with our SEO publishers is that they're not getting enough Google Discover traffic. And when the Google algorithm updates, all their traffic pretty much goes to almost zero. Does this resonate with you at all, or am I completely off base?
It's relevant.
It's relevant? How so, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, we've been talking about this strategy for the past couple months about how do we actually increase this and how do we do it. We've thought about doing a lot of this like in-house or even getting maybe a contractor to help here, but we didn't think about any like tech or anything. But it has been a conversation.
Definitely. I mean, since it's been a conversation and I know I'm just some person calling out of the blue, do you think it'd be worth just setting up a time for 15 minutes to kind of show you how I've helped other publishers like USA Today and Fox help them with that?
Yeah, that sounds interesting, but like I don't may not have time for that. Can you tell a little bit more about how you've helped them? Like
Definitely. Some main metrics, just so you know, is like real-time visibility is the name of the game here. We've actually helped them increase their traffic by 10% with real-time insights by actually giving them the information they need. Since you said it's been kind of a conversation, I kind of assume you guys have been trying to find ways of remedying this. So we actually give you visibility into this so you can see the problem for itself. I mean, I know once again, I'm a person calling out of the blue, but I mean, if it's just a 15-minute call, and if it's not helpful, then we can part ways as friends.
Yeah, I mean, probably best to send me an email. I could forward it to the team, and if there's interest, we definitely can hop on something.
Hey, Morgan, do you mind if I ask a brutally honest question right now?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. Usually when people say ask me an email, they're just politely telling me to get off the phone. Is this actually an email that you want to receive, or is this something like right now you're like, hey, it's not a priority?
I wouldn't say it's not a priority. I don't know if I have as much time to really meet. I'm pretty busy the next 2 weeks.
Gotcha. How about we put a placeholder meeting on then for a month? I'll send the email you're saying, and then if you read the email and say, hey, Dave, I don't care about this kick rocks, then we can get rid of the placeholder meeting. Does that sound fair?
That's fair.
All right. Sounds good. I'll put that in then for October 12th, probably at this time, if that works for you. Around, I'm in Mountain Time, so I don't know. Are you Eastern?
I'm Eastern. That's correct.
Okay, cool. So 10:30 a.m. So not 8 a.m. for you. You know, I'll do the 8 a.m. meeting. You do the 10:30 meeting. We'll go from there.
That sounds good, Dave.
All right, perfect. I'll put in right now, and then I'll see you then.
Sounds good.
Take care.
All right, y'all. Let's give Dave a round of applause. All right, Dave was cooking.
The best mock call I've heard in like so long. Like that was so refreshing. That was so good.
He was cooking. There's so many things we have to unpack on this one, y'all. I hope that y'all caught this. Like, there are so many good things that Dave did
you have
here.
A fan club now in the chat.
Yeah. Danielle, yes. That's why I always ask. I was like, look, 9 years of sales. It will teach you that. All right, cool. So everybody here, please give your feedback to Dave in the chat. What you liked, things that you maybe had for improvement. Sarah, since you were listening in here, give us your feedback. I'll give my feedback. I mean, overall, obviously great, but yeah, talk to us.
I think the best question that turned the entire cold call for the best was when you asked Morgan, like, is this relevant to you? And Morgan was like, yeah, it's relevant. Any other rep with, not that much experience, or if you do have a lot of experience, easily would be like, awesome, great, it's relevant. Why don't we set up some time to speak? The turning point of that call was you were like, it's relevant, how so? And you got like a solid 45 seconds out of Morgan of information that you could then use for the rest of the cold call to your advantage. So like, if you're a rep out there, like, don't be afraid to like ask more questions, and don't be afraid to have them be as simple as like, how so? Or why is that? Or can you tell me more? Or can you clarify that? We're so afraid to ask questions like that. However, Dave did that, and then he got 45 seconds of information that he can use for the meeting, for the rest of the cold call. I mean, I thought that question, just how so, was like the best turning point, and like it blew up the whole call for the best. It was great.
Oh, it was all. Anything else, Sarah, that you want to add before I dive in?
Yeah, I just think overall, like, my biggest tip always is just like sound really confident. Like, tone of voice is really important. Like, you were like such a human on the other side of that call, which was so great. Like, you made it really fun. I mean, your opener was like, holy hell, what did he just say?
I wasn't really prepared for that one at all.
I was not prepared for that. I've never heard that, and I thought it was literally great. I also loved like the humanized pieces that you added throughout the whole call. So you're like, we could just part as friends, or like, honestly, I'm a pretty direct person, but I think you have me beat, Dave. Like the fact that you were like, wait a second, is this just an email that is going to get buried in your inbox, or are you actually going to read it? Like, what do you want to see from that? Like, I'm taking that. I am totally incorporating that, because I get that all the time. And typically what I just say is like, the email is going to be fairly generic. Like, how about we set up some time and I send you an email and can tailor, the email to what you're looking for as well. So like, that's another way that you can do it. But I loved yours so much better to be like, hey, listen, like, is this just an email that's going to be buried, or is it something that you actually want to receive? Like, I felt like it was just so human. Like, I thought you were great. Like, honestly, like personality, tone, context, like easy to the point. Loved it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, let's Melody, I see your piece in the chat, the American style. I'd be curious if Melody, if you have any feedback on how that would be different in the text. That would be good to hear, to get to see. So 3 key things I want to point out, and we already talked about the intro. The intro, when I remember when I talked about pattern interrupts, that is exactly what that was. Now, obviously, I mean, probably no one ever.
Best way possible.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure no one ever tells you just to like completely jump out the. I'm pretty sure that
surprised.
doesn't.
They have.
Oh
US people are more ruthless.
UK,
I dropped that line. They always laugh. The sense of humor is there. Like Ireland, Britain,
the banter.
Like, they think it's hilarious. US people.
If you call New York people, they're gonna tell you to jump.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair play.
I think jump, Dave. Bye.
Good luck. Okay. No, I love that. Complete pattern interrupt got me in the conversation, got me engaged. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be different. I know a couple people asked on it, the email rebuttal. So I'll break this down on how you all can do the same if you want to. What Dave did there is the front end of that is called a humble disclaimer, what he did in the beginning. So what a humble disclaimer is, you call something out before you go be very direct, because you could be very direct and say like, hey, I know you're not going to see this email, but that's so direct, people might be like, what the heck? So you want to like ease it. So just like he did, he was like, hey, look, like, I'm going to be super real with you. Or like, hey, I know this is going to sound crazy. Or like, hey, this might be a little bit different than what you hear. You always want to prep that, just like he did, to then get the person to be like, yeah, okay, I see what's about to happen. And I 100%, I'm vouching for that. I do something very similar. Like, you have to call the person out when they say send you an email. Like, otherwise you're just going to send an email, and all of us have been there before, me included, where you send an email, you thought it was fire, and then they never respond, and you never hear from them ever again. And you're like, why did I waste my time on this email? So you want to make sure that you do that across the board. And then the third piece, I love how you were like, the placeholder, because the placeholder holds less weight to people than setting up a meeting. And the placeholder, you can always have at least a committed next step. And that was another great thing that you did there as well. Literally my only piece of feedback, and I encourage everyone to do this as well, is when you send the email, ask the person, what is the agreed subject line we can both have here so I don't get lost in the noise? That's literally my only piece of feedback. Because when you do send the email, you want to make sure that they vocalize and say something that they would actually reply to and view. Because if they vocalize and say it, now subconsciously they're going to look out for that email, and then there's a higher open and response rate. So just wanted to call that. That was like my only piece of advice there. Cool. Right on. Dave, appreciate you.
Good job, Dave.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. We're gonna bring up someone else, but again, I have not shared this with y'all. This is some people ask, "What are you winning?" This is what you could win here. I forgot to share this with you all. So these are actually some pretty good prizes, to be fair. I can't submit myself, but I would. JBL headphones, Uber Eats, get you some food, and then North Face backpack. Sarah, which one would you pick if you could pick them?
Ooh. I think the headphones.
The headphones, yeah, the headphones just look slick.
Yeah, I want the headphones.
Slick. They look slick. So if you want to potentially win, come up live on the video and review some calls as well. But again, these are the prizes. You can pick one of these 3 across the board, and then you could come from here. So again, if you want to jump on, this is what we're offering. So let's go to the next person So this cat is hilarious in the chat.
I know. Why is that making me like laugh? I was like,
I don't know why this
laughing
is
out loud?
this is hilarious. Yo, shout out to this cat, yo. This is who I wish was cold calling next, to be fair. This guy is vibing. All right. Anyways, let's get into the actual show here. So again, we're gonna go here. Let's see. All right. I don't think that person is
next.
there. Hold on. Okay. Whoa. Why is it not letting all these people? Okay, here we go. What's going on?
Wait, hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, I
Hi.
cannot believe I've actually just got on this, as if. Sorry, let me close my Slack down. Basically, I've got my entire team messaging me now.
You're good.
How are you, first and foremost?
Good. I want to make sure that I say it correctly. How exactly do you say your name?
Rory, that would be.
Okay. Cool. Rory. Okay, so now talk to us. Who are you calling?
So
What's the
I'd
value
probably
prop?
say,
Yep.
I'll say, I've been going after recruiters, like with recruitment firms, quite a bit at the moment. So I suppose Sarah, you'd actually be quite.
Okay,
good
Sarah, you're
person
probably
to
this
speak
is
to.
you.
Let's do it.
Okay, ring, 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 ring.
Oh, I was gonna say, who do you like typically call in a recruitment firm?
I'd probably say like head of like business development.
Okay.
Or yeah, I mean we can just go for that. That's fine.
Cool. Sounds good. I'm ready.
Okay, amazing. Ring, 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 ring.
Hello.
Hello. Sorry, is this Sarah?
Yes, who's this?
Sarah, this is Rory McLennan calling from Bowhurst. We actually connected yesterday on LinkedIn. I know that you probably get a few connections a day, so not assuming that you remember. Again, I know I might have interrupted you slightly here. Is now a good time to speak at all?
I'm running into a meeting in like 2 minutes, Rory, to be really honest with you. But what do you got?
Okay. Out of interest, what time's your meeting? It's 37 past. Is it at 22?
Yes, correct.
Okay, perfect. As a bit of a sort of pit stop tour, then, essentially what the reason I'm calling is, and what we do here at Bowhurst, we have a database of every private UK company. This data stretches from anything as simple as geography on accounts. This could be directorship, shareholdings, right the way through to stuff that you can use in your outreach, or your reps could use in your outreach, such as unannounced funding rounds, to really target those Goldilocks accounts. As a bit of a quick question to yourself, what are you actually currently using to identify really strong accounts for your reps to go after?
Yeah, it's a good question. We have a few different platforms right now. We're really big with Sales Navigator, and we do a lot of tailoring with lists there to get some good data, also clients as well. But yeah, that's pretty much what we use.
Yeah, Sales Navigator, fantastic tool. I actually use it myself, as well as using the Bowhurst platform. What I'd say is one of the things that Sales Navigator might slightly draw back on is the actual granularity of the company data. Really good for personal data.
Yeah,
Along, sorry, go on.
Not to cut you off, Rory, but why don't you give me a call back in like 6 months, just because we just invested in this, so it just wouldn't make sense for us to invest in something else as well with budget right now.
What tool did you invest in out of interest?
There's a few other ones. To be honest, I'm not the tech guy, but we're rolling out some stuff upcoming, so that was kind of in the budget meeting. So I just don't think adding something else is going to be in our budget right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and why 6 months? Is that when contracts come up, or is that when maybe there'll be some more evaluation?
Yeah, I think there'll probably be more evaluation in 6 months.
Okay, I've got you. What I often see around procurement of new softwares, and when conversations start, it can often take a few months to actually get things through. Do you think it's worth maybe starting conversations slightly earlier than the 6 months time in order to maybe drive evaluation easier?
I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt.
Mm-hmm. Maybe if we could start conversations looking towards the end of next month, and then if let's say it's going amazing with the new tools and you're really happy with them, we can say push it. But how does the end of next month sound?
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, to be really honest with you, Rory, I don't want to waste your time. I'm probably not the right person to speak to about bringing on some more tech, but yeah.
Who would be the right person to speak to?
Good question. Probably our CEO.
CEO. And is that for the reason of in terms of actual sign off itself, or do you
Correct.
feel like, oh, okay, sign off itself? Okay. I also, when I do speak to recruitment firms in general, I do like to speak to the person that's obviously got sign off, but a lot of the time the end users are going to be the people that are going to benefit the most, right? So I feel like yourself and your team, what we could maybe do, I can happily go away, have a chat with your CEO, or try and pitch him as well, or that or her. But what may be a good thing would be to do, get yourself and a few members of your team on, and I can just show you on a live demo exactly how I can find the right accounts for you. We could do, as I say, the end of next month works for me, or maybe next week. I'm not fussy on timelines.
Yeah, I mean, end of next month is good, but I'd recommend reaching out to our CEO.
Okay, I can do that. And would you mind if I referenced you in the email towards your CEO?
That's totally fine.
Perfect. Okay, well, if I've actually got my calendar here. You mentioned end of next month being okay. Should we go for the Tuesday, the 28th of November?
That actually works. That's good.
That works. I'll put that in for 2 p.m. Your time on the 28th of November then. And then what I'll do is I'll send a follow-up to yourself, CC your CEO in, and then we can maybe open up discussions there as well.
Yeah, you can do that. That's perfect.
Amazing. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Rory. Thanks for the call.
All right, let's give Roy a round of applause. Sarah the Savage, you ain't getting a meeting with me.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Hey, Rory, that was so good.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
That was like so good.
That was really
good. Oh
good.
my gosh.
Like
I'm gutted I couldn't bring the meeting, for goodness sake.
You're right there.
No, that was so good. You were right there the entire time. You literally overcame every single objection. Like, so good. You never also like changed your tone of voice. Like, I never felt like you were in a panic. You were just like, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to steamroll right through this and I'm going to get the meeting. And you sounded so good. You sounded so confident. Like, you knew exactly what you were talking about. I felt like I was talking to like an industry expert. You asked me really good open-ended questions. Like, what are you currently using? You asked me, you weren't afraid to ask me budget questions, which I think is like huge. Like, if they are giving you that information, like, don't be afraid to question around budget. Like, does that mean you guys are reevaluating in 6 months? Like, are you guys getting more budget in 6 months? Like, get that info. Like, you're right there. Like, Rory, you did such a good job. Like, you weren't afraid to ask any of that. I just thought it was really, really, really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was great. I think the one thing, Sarah, that you just said, and I hope everyone paid attention to it. A couple people in the comments have mentioned it. Composure. I've had this happen to myself before. Is like when you start getting thrown a lot of objections, it's easy to get frustrated and sound annoyed, right? And I think one of the key things, right, is to have that composure and be like, hey, look, like, I'm gonna get through this call. I just have to handle these objections, and I have to be able to go through it, right? Because at the end of the day, right, if you have any type of frustration on there, they're gonna sense that. So I think you did a really good job on that. I think you did a really good job of asking questions and remaining curious so that the conversation can continuously go. I think that's a really good thing that you did there as well. And the benefit, right, is with the objections that you're getting, those are follow-up questions that can lead into pseudo discovery to unpack more information, right? So that's obviously a benefit of that too. So those are the things that I heard, I saw on that call. So job well done. Still got at least something to send out. You know, you got to reach out to the CEO, right? And you go from there. So that's at least my feedback. It was good.
Yeah, composure was unreal. I would have panicked and just hung up. I think I would have hung up on myself.
Like, oh yeah, I'm done. It's been fun.
Actually, I'm good. Just go to your meeting. Good job, Rory. That was so good.
That was I actually want to ask you, Sarah, as the person, obviously as the prospect. I haven't heard this often. Someone in the chat even said it. You called out the time.
Yeah, that was actually so interesting. I've never heard that. You were like, is your meeting in, I know you said it's 2 minutes, but it's 20 to the 20. I don't know, you English people, you're like 20 to the hour or something. I don't know.
I
Already
I
passed.
actually can't take credit. I can't take credit at all for that one. That was my old VP of sales, Sam Madden. He actually told me if someone says, "Oh, I've got a meeting in 5 minutes," and the time's like 20 like 1 past or something like that, you say, "What is your meeting at 27 past?" Like you just
I liked that. I was like,
almost lighten it up a little bit, I guess.
No, that was great.
that was really good.
I hadn't heard that before, and that was a lot.
Me
I
either.
know that's a lot of cold calls, and I was like, that's actually really interesting because now subconsciously you've put the clock like, hey, this isn't. We could talk longer than just what you think it is. So I really like that call out.
Yeah, I loved that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Okay, so y'all, we have a lot of questions, and we're gonna go through as many of these questions as we can. So make sure to upvote them, and I'm gonna go through as well. So this one's actually pretty interesting. We see this on almost every single show. How would you handle the objection? This is my personal number. How did you get this? With confidence and keep them on the line. Sarah, what are you doing here?
Yeah, typically I just outright say like, "Hey Morgan, listen, I actually got your number from Zoom Info. You know, can I still get 30 seconds, you know, to chat quickly? Alternatively, I could send you over a link on how to actually take your number off Zoom Info if that's helpful for you." And kind of like give them the out, but also still ask for time to chat. Like, "Hey, listen, like, appreciate, you know, I'm calling you out of the blue. I can actually send you a link that tells you how to get your number off. If that's helpful." But I don't hide. I'm just like, "This is where I got it. Here's how you can take it off. But can I still just have a minute to chat?"
I do the same thing. I think it's just best
Yeah.
to keep it real. I think if you try to lie, I think people will sense that, and it just doesn't typically pan out very well.
Yeah, I remember getting that objection though as a new rep, and like you definitely like I wasn't trained for that, which like you wouldn't expect to be. So I would usually be like, I like don't be afraid if you're that person where it's like, "Where'd you get my number?" And you're like, "Oh, I don't know, I just appeared." Like I literally used to do that, and I'd be like, "Sarah, why don't I just tell them where I got it from? Like what the hell?" So like if you're that person, just don't be afraid to be transparent because no one tells you for that. No one gives you that objection in training. Nobody.
That's
Nobody
so fair.
prepares you for that one.
I mean, put like I think we just need a moment here of therapy for everyone who's gone through this. Put 2 in the chat if you've dealt with this before and you were just folded. The first time I hold this, I literally had no idea to say. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I just hung up. I was like, I'm out. I'm done.
yeah.
I'm going
No
home.
one prepares you for that objection in training. Like, let's be real. Nobody.
No one does. And you're like, wait, how am I supposed to do this right now? Because it's like, because you also want to say, like, yo, it's like 2024. Like, what do you mean? How do I get your number? Like,
No, literally.
like, that's what I want to say. But it's like, that will get me fired. So I can't say that. But yeah. I just needed we just needed some therapy, y'all, for that one, because that one's not the best. Okay, so we got more questions. We got some time here. Appreciate y'all kicking it with us. Before we do that, I want to make sure while people are here, Sarah, you provide so much insight for us. Where can people find you?
Cool. So I share a lot of my cold calling videos on TikTok. It's at SPLOWW. But also LinkedIn and Instagram. I've been posting a lot more, cross-contenting my stuff on Instagram. I feel like a lot of people give me feedback where it's way more personable and, you know, kind of get to know each other as a community on like a lifestyle, personal level, but also in a professional and corporate sales setting. So Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn is where it's at.
Make sure to follow her there, y'all. Okay, we're gonna go over some upvoted ones. I want to make sure we get this. Everyone's been asked this question, and it gets asked every single time. And I want to make sure to address it because there's obviously different pieces in there. We'll make sure to drop in Sarah's stuff so y'all can go follow that. Well, I'm gonna do that right now. But Sarah, this question here, everybody wants to know this. How do you get past the gatekeeper? How do you get past the receptionist? What are you doing? Also in the chat, if you also have insight as well, like more than happy to share that too. But Sarah, what are you doing here? Because this is big for everybody.
Yeah, this is really big for everyone. And I'll admit, like, I don't come across it that much because I do call a lot of mobile numbers. However, when I do and used to call a lot of businesses before COVID, and I got a gatekeeper, I would say, you know, when they answer, I'd say, "Hi, this is Sarah calling from Pareto. Just wanting to get connected with Morgan Ingram. Thanks." And that end, like, thanks or like, "Thank you," just sounds really confident. And it sounds like you're honestly calling for a purpose and they're expecting your call. So just kind of changing your tone with a gatekeeper, I've seen worked really great. Like, don't overthink it. Like, just, hey, this is Sarah calling to get connected with Morgan Ingram. Thank you. That really helps tone. But I want to get your insight on this, Morgan, too, because I honestly don't come across them often.
Yeah, so I love that. The thing, my tactic is, if you've heard my content before, I've said this a lot, so you can be like, yeah, I've heard it. My tactic is called Lost in Disney World. I do the Lost in Disney World. So I don't know if anyone's I've actually been legitimately lost in Disney World before. So this is the way I break it down. I don't know if y'all have been lost in Disney World before, or an amusement park, but basically when you call a gatekeeper, you want to act like you are just completely lost, right? So what I do, instead of saying, hi, I'm, so-and-so from so-and-so, I'll be like, if they say their name, I'll say their name. But if they don't, then, whatever. I'll say, hi, like, can you help me? I just sound like I'm just lost. I just sound like I'm just lost. Like, I have no idea what's going on. I say, hi, can you help me? But you have to do it in this tone. You can't be like, hi, can you help me? You have to sound like you're legitimately, you have to sound like you're legitimately lost. Like, hi, can you help me? Like you need serious help, right? Now, the reason I do that is because for the gatekeeper, we want to get them in a state of helping. And the thing is, people like to help. So we have to get them in that state. So I just start off the call like that. And then most people will be like, you'll know, if you try this out this week, you'll notice actually a shift in the tone. They'll be like, oh yeah, how can I help? It will completely change everything. I promise you. And so then when that happens, then I just say, hey, yeah, I'm looking to connect to Bob, please. Can you please connect me with Bob? I say the name twice. I say please twice. And that is how I typically get to or past the gatekeeper. My last bit on this too is that when you get to the gatekeeper and they let you through, this is the final last step. I want to, if you don't do anything that we talk about today, this is number one. Say, hey, my phone connection has been not the best today. Could you give me the extension number just in case if I get lost in this transfer? And now I no longer have to call the gatekeeper again. I now have the transfer number and I can go from there. So this is funny. These memes are crazy. I don't know what y'all on today, but I love it. So that's how I handle the gatekeeper, Sarah.
I have a question for you, Morgan, actually, because I get this question a lot too, and I would love to hear your advice on it. But I get I've had gatekeepers, and I've had a lot of people say that, the gatekeeper will say to them, are they expecting your call? And I remember I used to get this objection with gatekeepers, and I'd be like, yeah, they are expecting it, I think. I don't know. But it's such a tough one. What do you do?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot to this one, right? The first thing is, this is not my real recommendation, but I know some people do this. They will say yes, they are. I'm following up on an email, because technically you are following up an email, but they'll just directly say yeah, that's the case. But I think
a lot of people in the chat are they say, I hope so. I hope they are. That's not a bad response.
I'm I think it also depends on style. I'm the person that's always going to use self-deprecating humor and make things a little bit outlandish. Not Will Falkenberg level, but
you could honestly just be I'm really hoping that they're expecting my call, because if they're not, I'd be really concerned.
Yeah, that. That's
confusion.
That's the route I typically go. I'm you know what? I hope I've been flipping a coin to see if this is going to work out.
Chuckle. Don't forget the chuckle.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Go home after this and practice your laugh.
I'm always gonna be laughing, or I'm always just gonna be I got. We'll see. So fingers crossed. So I there's a playful banter there, but that's also more my style, and that's more of a style thing for sure. But some people could get away with being super direct and confident and being yeah, I'm following up. Put me through. Some people are that direct with it. Yeah. That's just not my style.
Where's Dave Morley? Is he still on here? He would have been yup, I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah, it just depends on your style. I think that's more of a style thing at the end of the day.
There's
Stay
Dave.
scheming.
There's Dave in the chat. He's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, we know Dave would be like all in. That's hilarious. Okay, let's get one more before we do have to go here. I think, yeah, we get the structure, hell objections. Yeah, let's go into. We kind of already talked about this, but I actually want to hear your perspective, Sarah, on sending an email. Is it different than what Dave did?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different, but I love what Dave did. I actually liked it better than what I use. But typically, when someone says send me an email, I say, listen, I could definitely send you an email. However, it's going to be fairly generic. So why don't we still set up time tomorrow or Friday at 9 or 2 p.m. Eastern time? That way we can walk through the email together in case you have any questions. We could go over it on the meeting. And then I'll also kind of double ask on that is like, what in particular do you want me to tailor the email to, so I can make it as specific as possible so that when you open it, it's extremely valuable to what you're looking for. So like you show them that you're still going to send the email, but you're also still pushing like for your meeting as well. So like you're getting the best of both. Like you're still giving them what they want. You're still getting what you want, but you also are catering to them as well by saying like, what can I put in this email that's going to stand out so that you actually read it? So that's typically what I do, but I also loved Dave's method as well. But that's typically what I do for send me an email.
They're asking, can we put the response in the chat? If you have that maybe on hand, Sarah, to share real quick.
I can do a little type up right now quickly.
A quick type up for everybody. All right, let's
ignore my spelling, everybody. I'm a salesperson. I'm not a teacher.
All right, let's we got 4 minutes left here. We'll answer this last one here. Question for both of us: how to handle when they say they're going through a lot of internal changes. So as Sarah's typing, I'll talk about that. It just really depends on like who's saying that and what's the case. When someone's going through a lot of internal changes, as we all know from a business acumen standpoint, the likelihood of them making decisions or doing something is typically low, especially if it's like a wholesale change. So when someone's going through a lot of internal changes, the one thing I say, and by the way, everyone's asking, you will get the recording. So just so you know, the one thing that I ask is like, hey, like I know this is a little bit of a crazy question, but what exactly is leading to the change internally, and how is that shifting your strategy for H1 or H2? So if you're an H1, say H1. If you're an H2, H2, because you want to look at the whole scope. You want to look at the next 6 months. That's why you say H1 or H2. And typically people unpack that as well. So that's what I would suggest to you all, too. Like just really ask that question and just be in a curiosity standpoint. Don't try to push anything and try to uncover what's happening. That's what I would do. Sarah, anything different?
I was fully typing. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
This is where people are like, oh my God, like she's really bad ADHD. Like she is all over the place. Yes, I am, just to confirm in case anyone was wondering.
It's all good.
Again, salesperson, like salesperson.
No, the question was just
place at all times.
I mean, that's what it is. It's the game, right? The question in short was, if they're dealing with internal changes and they tell you on the phone, how do you handle it? And I just was like, yeah, just unpack that. Like keep digging deeper.
Yeah.
Like have curiosity state. Don't try to deviate from that. Like actually understand what's going on. But I don't know if you had anything different.
I'll typically ask a structured question like, oh, exciting to hear there's like a lot of changes being made. Like what's the current structure of your sales organization? Or what's the current structure of your internal team? And then sometimes they'll actually break down like, oh, we have X amount of VPs, we have X amount of salespeople. And then you could kind of like start to envision the actual structure of the organization. And that will help you unpack some more questions as well. So like for me in recruitment, I know a lot of you guys are in recruitment. That's a really helpful question for me because when I go and sell, people, like I'm literally trying to get people to take SDRs from me. Like I want to hire SDRs. It'll be really good for me to know like, oh, they only have 2 SDRs. Like, are you actually looking to expand that team? How many are you looking to expand that team by if you only have 2 on the team right now? So, those are questions that are really helpful for me in recruitment specifically. That's really good to use around the structure question.
Awesome. Cool. Well, y'all, we're out of time. My hope is that you enjoyed the show today. You had a good time. If it's your first time, we hope to see you back. We're looking to do these monthly, right, with Sara, and also some more people coming soon. So again, if you enjoy this, we want to see you back. Hopefully this is helpful. If you actually end up doing anything that we talk about today, make sure to let us know. DM us, DM Sara, DM me, and let us know, hey, wow, this was great. And I actually did it and it worked, just like we saw from earlier from a couple of people that executed this and this work. So we appreciate y'all. Thanks so much for tuning in. And then until next time.
Bye.